everyone and welcome back to Chess with MNM, and also welcome to a game played in 2005 between one of the most greatest chess players ever in the chess history and the world champion of 1985 Garry Kasparov and Mikhail Adams. Now before I start this video, who is Mikhail Adams? Mikhail Adams, it was one of the top rated, or let's say top 5 at top 5 at the world at that time, okay, at Kasparov's and Karapov's time in the 2000s or something like that, okay. And I mean, I don't know if he playing until now or not, but however, this game played in 2005. Garry Kasparov with the black pieces and Michael Adam with the white pieces, and this game so exciting and one of the most memorable games between these players. And also you have to watch this game because it's so beautiful game actually. Mikhail Adams with the white pieces, Garry Kasparov with the black pieces. Adams opened this game by e4, the king's pawn opening. Now c5 played by Kasparov, the Sicilian defense, knight to f3, d6, and now d4. The open Sicilian, c capture on d4, knight capture on d4, knight to f6 attacking the pawn on the e4, so knight to c3 protecting the pawn, and now a6, the Najdorf variation by Kasparov. Now the Najdorf variation is one of the top of one of the most played variations in the Sicilian defense or against the e4 opening, and it's one of the most played defense for the top rated. It's so strong and so aggressive defense. The idea by pushing a6 here is controlling the b5 square because the white here has so many pressure on that square, and also preparing to pushing b5 with b4 to attack the only defender of the pawn on the e4 square. So here after a6, and this is the main idea by a6. So here bishop to e3, developing the bishop, also preparing to castle on the queen side after queen to d2, and now e6 I want to develop my dark squares bishop. Bishop to e2 played here, and now queen to c7 played by Kasparov, activating the queen on the semi-open c file. So here queen to d2 played by Michael, not me. However, you can call Mikhail, you can call Michael, it's not a problem, okay? So queen to d2 played by Michael, let's call it Adams. Played by Adams, the idea that I want to castle on the queen side. So here immediately Kasparov pushed b5, the idea that if you castle on the queen side, then b4 comes, attacking the knight, which it is the only defender of the pawn on the e4 square. So when you move your knight to anywhere, then you'll lose simply your e4 square with an attack on your queen. So for this season here, after b5, Adams here played a3, not allow the black to push b4, and now simply bishop to b7 played by Kasparov, attacking the pawn on the e4 square twice. So my dear Adams, you have to deal with this. So f3 protecting the pawn, also controlling the g4 square to pushing g4 to make an attack also on the other side. And now knight to c6, let's develop our knight. Now here after knight to c6, Michael Adams said, okay, it's not a problem, let's castle on the queen side, there is no problem. But here Kasparov said, I will show you the problems. Here after queenside castles, immediately Kasparov pushed b4. Let's open some files and let's open some diagonals, and let's give my knight nice square, and it is the b4 square. The idea, because here if you move your knight, I mean you have two choices here, capturing or moving your knight. If you move your knight, then b capture on a3 will be a strong move. If you capture by the pawn, then you destroy your queen side, and now your king's place is in a wrong place. And if you capture by the knight, I mean this knight on the a3 is so unuseful knight, and I mean here if you capture, it's more better, I mean, because now the knight on the c3 square, and it's more useful than the knight on the a3. But however, when you capture here, then Kasparov is simply captured by the knight capture on b4, developing the knight, also opening some files on the queen side. And now simply g4 played by Michael Adams. Here Adams said, okay Kasparov, you are world champion, I know that, but also I'm strong player, and I will push g4, and I will push g5, and I will attack you too. Kasparov said, I'm not interested about that. Bishop to e7 and attack me. I will castle on the queen side and show me your best. Here g5 played by Adams, and now knight back to d7 played by Kasparov. And here h4 played by Adams. Let's push h5, let's push g6, let's do something on the other side. I mean, Adams cannot just sit and wait Kasparov, so he has to do something on the other side. So here knight to c5 played by Kasparov. Let's shift this knight from the king side into the queen side to attack this king on the c1 square. So here king to b1 played by Michael Adams. The idea that let's move away from this dangerously fire from this queen's file. So here Kasparov said, okay, now you move it from this queen file, so the rook comes into your king's file. Rook to b8 played by Kasparov. Let's bring the rook into this king's file, okay? So here after rook to b8, h5 now played by Adams. Let's push g6, let's push h6, let's do something on the king side, and here Kasparov simply castled. Do what you want to do. I'm not interested about anything you're doing. So here g6 pushed by Adams. D6, I mean the idea that I want to do something on the king's side, and now simply bishop to f6 played by Kasparov. Let's activate our bishop on this h8 a1 diagonal, on this strong diagonal, and now rook d to g1 played. Rook to g1, rook d to g1, bringing the rook into the king's side to attack this king, and now simply bishop to a8. What's the idea about this move? The idea is opening the road for the monster on the b8 square, on the king on the b1 square. Here bishop to g5 played. Let's exchange the bishops, and if you do that then you will bring my queen into the attack or into the queen side. And Kasparov said I'm not interested about that and I will play bishop to e5. And here Michael Adams had to play bishop to e3. But Michael Adams here played hg capture on h7, okay? The idea here that Michael Adams want to do something on that side. Now here the normal player will play king to h8. I mean, and if I am playing this game, I will play king to h8 because, I mean, now this king on the h8, the engine he said that king to h8 is a good move, but it's not the best. The best here is capturing, as Kasparov did. But I mean, king to h8 is a good move too. The idea here that the file closed by the white pawns, I mean, and the diagonal closed by this pawn, also by this bishop. So my king on the h8 is in safe place actually, and always I can take on the h7 when the queens and the rook and some pieces get exchanged, and when we are in the end game, so simply I can capture it and then I can develop my king. But here Kasparov, you're talking about Kasparov, you're talking about one of the aggressive and one of the strong players ever in the chess history. Let's capture by the king and let's develop our king. It's not a problem. I mean, because the king on the h7, he cannot give me any check on this diagonal. Also, the file is still closed by the pawns, so he still has to deal with all of this. So here knight to b3 played by me, Adams. And knight to b3 wasn't the best move here. The engine says that bishop to e3 was the best move, and knight to b3 was a terrible blunder by Adams. Why? Pause the video for a couple of seconds and try to find what Kasparov played at this position. And also, while you're pausing the video, there is a subscribe button below this video. Again, if you are not subscribed, of course, there is a subscribe button below this video. It's inside the red rectangle, okay, below the video. Also, there is like button below the video. Also, it seems like this, okay. So click on it, and I will appreciate this actually. So thank you so much. And yeah, I mean, think for a couple of seconds, and now let's say the move. Now here Kasparov, simply after knight to b3, Kasparov here played knight capture on c2, and this move was so unexpected and so beautiful move by Kasparov. Now what's the idea about this move? The first idea here, Michael Adams here played knight capture on c5, okay? Now the first idea here that if you capture my knight on the c2, then I have rook capture on b3, and this move is a strong move, not just because I win a pawn and it's the c2 pawn, no. If you play anything here like rook to h3, then rook capture on b2 will be deadly move. When you capture by the king, then knight to a4 comes with the check and also with triple attack on this knight on the c3 square. The problem that you cannot move it to capture that knight because it's pinning with your king. So here king to c2, let's say example, because to where you will move your king. I mean, the best move here that the engine says is king to c2. And now simply knight capture on c3 comes. The next move is knight capture on e2. With a check, and then by this, I mean, your king is in trouble here on the queen side, and the angel he said that the black here has a huge advantage. I mean, how you will prevent knight capture on e2, sorry. If you play something like king to d3 moving away from this file, then rook to c8 comes. Queen to c3 check is my next move, and the engine he says that the black has a huge advantage actually. So here after knight capture on c2, Adam said, okay, I will capture his knight. The idea that if he capture my knight, then I will capture his knight. But I mean, the idea here that even this doesn't work because rook capture on b2 still deadly. When you capture here, Then simply I have rook to c8 with a trouble attack on this knight. Also, your king is in so bad place, and the engine here again says that the black here has a huge advantage because this king's place is, I mean, is in unsafe place. Okay, so for this season here, after knight capture on c5, I mean queen capture on c5 is a strong move, but instead capturing on the c5, Kasparov played the best move at this position and more strong move than queen capture on c5, and it is knight to a3 check. Okay, knight to a3 check here played by Kasparov. Okay, moving this knight away by check. King to a2. I want your knight, and Kasparov here said, welcome, capture it if you are man. The idea is that if you capture it, then bishop capture on c3 will be deadly. I'm attacking your queen, and the problem to where you will move your queen. Example, if you move it into the d1, okay, then simply rook to b2 check, king to a1 only move, and now queen capture on a3 checkmate. And the engine here said that there is no way to say, I mean, there is no way to preventing queen capture on d2. The best move here is playing rook to c1, but simply this move will meet with bishop capture on d2, and after rook capture on c5, then pawn capture on c5 simply. And here, if you count the pieces, we will see that the black here has has a whole rook and also an extra pawn. So here after queen capture on c5, you cannot touch that knight. So here knight to a4 played, attacking the knight or something like that. But here after knight to a4, simply knight to c2 played, sacking that queen. The idea here that if you touch that queen, then rook capture on b2 will be a checkmate. Can you believe this? This square is protected by the knight, and I'm checking you by the rook, and the rook protected by this bishop. So beautiful game by Kasparov. Here, after knight to c2, now knight to c2, there is another threat by this move. The idea that if you play something like rook to h3, then rook capture on b2 comes, and after knight capture on b2, then queen to a3 check comes, and after king to b1, queen capture on b2 will be a checkmate. So for this season here, Michael Adams played king to b1, trying to go away from the checkmate. So here Kasparov simply ended this game by queen to a3, and it was at this position that Michael Adams simply resigned this game. Now why he resigned the game? Because if yeah, I mean you cannot capture because the pawn pinned by the king, and also the idea that if you try to play something like king to c2, and this is the best move that the engine he says that simply I have a strong move and this queen capture on a4. Okay, and when you move your king away, example into the c1, then simply have rook capture on b1, b2, sorry. I'm attacking your queen. When you move your queen away, then queen to c2 will be deadly, and also rook to c8 comes. So the best move is sacking your queen, and if you do that, I mean, your king now is in trouble here on the b2 square. Okay, after rook to c8 example. And the engineer said that the black has a huge advantage. So for this season here, king capture on c2 doesn't work, and if you capture by the queen, then simply I have rook f to c8 attacking the queen. When you move your queen away, then simply I have queen capture on a4, and the threat here simply is rook capture on b2, and I mean we will back into the same variation. So for this season here, after queen to a3, it was at this position that means Michael Adams simply resigned this game, and Kasparov wins that game. So yeah, this was the game. Hope you really enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this game, there is like button below the video. There is also subscribe button below the video if you're not a subscriber. If you click on these buttons, I will appreciate this. And yeah, this all what I want to say, and see you in the next videos.